God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Let mine be done.
And Bridge, and this is my first time telling my story for a half hour in front of a room full of people. So I've been praying a lot. My sponsor wanted me to do this in March of last year, and I've been fighting it ever since, but here I stand before you. So first, I want to just say a prayer, because I feel calm right now, but I'm hoping my nerves will let me be coherent and give it'll be what it is. God, I offer myself to Thee, to build with me and do with me as Thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do Thy will. Take my difficulties, the victory over them, may bear witness to those I would help. By Thy power, Thy love, and Thy way of life, and I will always. Well, that's great. I'm starting off crying right off the bat. I'm Lori. I have been in programs since October of 2003. I've never left the rooms. I recommitted in May 19th of last year. I lost 27 pounds now, and I'm a food inventory and step sponsor. And I'm going to talk about all the things I've overcome. I have been mentally and emotionally and spiritually sick from the day that I came into the planet. I've never been very much overweight until the last 3 years. My physical recovery, my physical disease did not progress until 3 years ago. And I got 50 pounds over my weight, and I'm just got my recommitment back last May, and the last 2 years has been the greatest awakening of my soul and my spirit, my higher power. My relationship with my higher power has gotten me where I am today and opened my heart and my mind and my soul. It's turned me into a useful person and a kind and a caring person. And it's a miracle that happened, because I was a loudmouth and a hard ass, and I used drugs, I used alcohol, I used men, I used food. And the fact that I became a caregiver for the elderly, and I have gentleness and kindness and compassion in my voice and in my hands and in my heart and in my body language, couldn't have done it without program or without my higher power. So one of the things that I learned a long time ago, because I have had 45 jobs since I've been 18 years old. I have moved 48 times. I got fired from my first 10 jobs. I've been unstable from day one. I was adopted, and I believe I came in with a psychic scarring of not being wanted. So I believe my self-hatred started in the womb, and that's what has led me down this path. A lot of us are children of chaos. I know I'm not the only one. And my first addiction was Gothic romance novels. And I felt I always had a hole in my soul, and I used that to get filled up. So that set a pattern for promiscuity. I have overcome that. I have overcome debilitating depression. That I finally, in the last 3 years, 3 years back is when I had to finally get on antidepressants. I didn't probably get as much help as I needed. A lot of it had to do with money. I've been in other 12-step programs. I have had counseling. But I really wanted to be dead. I really wanted to be dead 3 years ago. I just couldn't take it anymore. I feel like I was an onion, and I wrote this down in my heart powers going, don't use the word rot. But I felt like I was rotten in the middle. And as I stayed in program, I'm a chronic relapser. I started facing all this stuff 13 years ago, and I couldn't do it. The pain was too much. It was just too much. So I did get on antidepressants and for about 6 months, and then the recovery, the desire to I'm still wanting to want to be really alive. I don't want to be dead anymore. I'm glad I'm on the planet. My dog is like my primary thing in my life. I don't have any family. And so I'm just really a useful person in society. I've finally become a useful person in society. I've overcome my molestation. I have overcome anxiety from early age. A lot of us in these rooms deal with chronic anxiety that would wake me up in the middle of the night. That went away when I discovered the self-hatred, which is pretty primary. And I have, I very rarely have PTSD anymore, and that's because from the time I was 4 till I was 35, I had 8 family members die. So I don't have any living family, and so it's interesting that I got called to a profession, my higher power, where people die. So I'm in this program, I'm in recovery, people die. I went back to the food, and they die, and I went back to the food because I was constantly getting abandoned. And so getting into hospice counseling is what started healing that for me. When I went into hospice counseling, I ended up being with an art teacher, and the last thing I wanted was an art teacher, but I don't remember how it happened, but I ended up making a memorial to my family, and I had all these pictures that I haven't been able to look at it just because I hated them because they all died. You know, I hated them. I was just so angry and closed and shut down. So every layer of the onion, stuff like that kept coming up, and I just was not like the people who get abstinent stay abstinent. I just couldn't stay out of the food. So when I went into hospice counseling, I had these, there was a picture of me as this cute little blonde-eyed girl with big blue eyes being held in my mother's lap, and the counselor goes, "Isn't she just the sweetest little girl?" And I go, "No." I go, "No." I go, "I hate her. I hate her." And it took me 3 weeks to realize when I was looking at that little picture and saying that I hated her, I was hating myself. And I went, oh my God, 3 weeks. I didn't connect it. It was just this outside. My life has been an outside job. I got to make it an inside job in here. So that has been significant, and that was also in the last 3 years. My recovery is being able to work the tools, being able to go to the meetings, being sick and tired and frightening because my weight finally became out of control. I never thought I'd be 220 pounds. I never thought that would happen. My good friend who was in program, she used to tell me that she would eat until she couldn't lay down. She had to sit up to sleep. And I finally started exhibiting that behavior a few years ago. So that was really scary. So bit by bit, I like I said, I've stayed in the program. But I think one of the primary things that helped me is because I finally found a sponsor who was compassionate to my relapsing. There's so much shame associated when you fail, and you have to tell somebody every day, I failed again, I failed again, I failed again. And I think I've had 9 sponsors in 13 years, and it's no blame on anybody. It's just, but I stayed, and she loved me until I could love myself better. And she said, it's normal, that's what we do, we're compulsive eaters. And she didn't beat me up for it. So as I was working through looking at who I really was and inside, and really turned to prayer and meditation and sitting still. And that's when I identified the self-hatred, and I chose to sit still when I could sit still with what was going on in my own mind, and I could breathe. My nervous system just started calming down, and my mind started calming down. And so I love step 6 and 7. It's accurate self-appraisal, and that's always been so important to me. I had so much baggage. Anyway, I've learned how to face myself in this recent past without turning to the food. Periodically, I'll still disassociate when something gets a little hard, and that always surprises me because physical objects will. Disassociation, if you're not familiar, it's just you kind of leave your body, and your body goes around and functions on some level, and I find yourself driven across town, and you're over here, and you don't know how you got there, or something's in the refrigerator that should be in a closet, things like that. That I still do that when emotions in life get hard, but I turn to my higher power, and I pray, and I sit still and I breathe, and that became my new antidepressant. It's just learning how to sit still and breathe and turn to my higher power. The negative thinking was completely out of hand, my whole program. What I've learned to do with my negative thinking is I listen to God radio music now, and the verses in the songs are what go on in my mind. So I have positive things that I reinforce myself, and I'm in my car a lot because I do home care, so I'm listening to music a lot, and that has replaced my negative thinking. So that's the 8th tool for me, and my 9th tool is I have to be outdoors. I have to walk around trees. I need to be by water. That completely calms me down. And I was telling my sponsor that there's a book out called Earthing, and they're just about teaching so many people in cities now don't go outside, I guess, and to take your shoes off and walk on the ground. And it's like, that's what I do all the time, but they had to write a book for us to know how to get grounded and just take your I'm old enough that I ran around outside with no shoes on, so it's just surprising to me that can happen. I know that I could never leave these rooms. The rooms were my family. I had no accountability. My mom brought me up to be selfish, self-centered, and and here we are. We're here because we're selfish and self-centered. I'm also a child of entitlement. So she put all her energy into me being the son in her life. And when she got sick, when I was 13, she got sick, and when I went to see her after she was in a coma, she didn't know who I was. So I just blocked my heart out, said, I'm never going to feel again, I'm never going to cry again. And then I went down the road of alcohol, and then drugs, and then promiscuity, and job after job, because I couldn't keep a job. I just couldn't. I'm afraid to even think about what I was like then, because I counted them all up, how a human being can do that kind of stuff, and the fact that if alcohol had not made me so deathly sick, I would be dead, because alcohol takes you out faster than food. And I'm really grateful that I've had obviously some higher power keeping his eye on me and leading me along. But the program took the place of my mom, who spoiled me rotten and gave me structure and gave me discipline and gave me accountability, because that did not fit my personality. And it was really hard, and I was really loud and disruptive in meetings, and I tried to get the Our Father taken out of the meetings. I resented that we had to pray the Our Father, because I have a background where that was unacceptable to me at the time, and I wouldn't hold hands, and I would stand there like this, and then hear other people have come into the rooms after I've changed, and I hold hands, and then somebody new will come in and they hate the Our Father too, and I go, oh my gosh, I have changed, God is well, it's just okay. It's the Our Father, and it's just what we do, right? It's what we do. So I didn't know if I was going to be able to talk for half an hour. It's a long time. I want to read something from The Came to Believe, and there's a couple of little quotes here that The Came to Believe is that's my favorite meeting. I do the bridge, and The Came to Believe, I hated that book too, by the way. Hated that book. It's boring, it's old, it's, and we only have to read one story out of it. I had to pay money for this book. We read one story. Why? And now I lead the meeting on the bridge, and it just does so much for me. So this was sweet and simple. In my view, some of the evidences of a spiritual awakening are maturity, I'm getting there, an end to habitual hatred. Oh my gosh, that I have gotten through that. I hated other people, and the ability to love and be loved in return. The fact that I love these clients that I work for, and the fact they love me back. Sometimes, twice I've been told something by my clients, and I called my sponsor having a panic attack. I'm going, this client told me that they feel this way about me, and I do something for them that I can never do. I mean, it's like I couldn't even take in the glove, I couldn't, she had to talk me down so I could receive that kind of intention and love. The ability to believe. I believe in a power greater than myself that's there for me no matter what, no matter how it looks. I know that I'm not alone anymore. Even without understanding, that's something that lets the sun rise in the morning and lets the moon set at night, and makes the leaves come out in the spring and drop off in the fall, and gives the birds song. Why not let that something be God? And that's just kind of how it is for me. It's that simple. And I always, because I had so many jobs and I moved all the time, I really would always, again, I was doing an outside job instead of an inside job. And my outside job, of course, which I hear we all like to do this, is compare ourselves, and so we have teachers and we have doctors and we have successful people, and I'm not that. What am I? And I call myself a professional nag and a poop concierge. And you guys can figure that out. So I go, I don't know where. Anyway, I would always compare myself, and so in the big book, or in the 12 and 12, it's when I read this, I finally started being okay. True ambition is the deep desire to live usefully and walk humbly under the grace of God. And ultimately, I know that's what I've been doing all along, trying to fill that hole in my soul and all that instability. And that is still my deepest desire. I have not been in a relationship for 10 years. I did turn to prostitution at the end before I got into the rooms. And I just, I went down. I went down. I was fearful, and I thought that was the only way I could make money. And the fact that, and I'm not doing anorexic, which is sometimes a polar opposite of that. I've just learned to like myself first, respect myself, and now I love myself, and I have contentment. And so that's another gift that has been given to me by staying in the rooms. And, as it says, there are those of us who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. And that, I used to use honesty to beat people up with. I'm honest. You look like this, or you did that, or don't you think you're like this? And, that's another embarrassing character defect of mine. And I'm glad that I don't need to do that anymore. I never thought I could pause before impulse. That's just been in the last 2 years, because the third year back was a really bad bottom in here for me. It was physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, and I know I needed to do that to get where I am today. And again, I owe it to all you guys for going before me and staying with me and keeping the rooms filled up, and kind and compassionate, loving sponsor who loved me enough until I could really learn to love and like myself. And the spirituality of the program is it's a door that is there for everyone, and it's intimate and it's personal and it's different for all of us. And I'm just glad that I found it, and it really came from sitting still and being outdoors. But the sitting still and learning how to breathe. And I taught yoga for a really long time, and I always told my students, bottom line, if you learn anything from my physical yoga classes, is take breathing with you. Breath, you can, and when people, that puts you in fight, flight, or fright mechanism. And when you inhale through your nose, and you let it go, you can calm yourselves down. And so teaching it and doing it is not always the same thing. But I finally did it for myself, and I was, I'm forever grateful that I know how to do that, and I learned how to listen. that's another miracle. My sponsor will tell you, you ever run out of anything to say? What makes you think you can't talk for a half hour? So I'm working on it. I only have 5 minutes left. I'm working on it. But anyway, that's my biggest message is find a sponsor. If you struggle with relapse, find a sponsor who's got the compassion and patience. And the asterisk is I always went to meetings. I always made my phone calls. I always did the writing and the reading. I did the tools. I wrote my food down even if I didn't do it. I did the tools and I just failed with the food. But I didn't leave. And my metabolism changed with the depression. I've been more sedentary and lethargic, so my weight does not come off like it did 13 years ago. So I'm having to be more kind and patient and not worry about my physical appearance, because after being not nagged, I want to say my sponsor nagged me, but she never nagged me to be up here. She just said, well, think about it and pray about it and see what you think. And I tried really hard to not be up here. And I did, because it says, I even got the guideline books out, because I remember a lot of the rules, and it says in the guideline book, you have to have a year. And I called her like 2 months ago. I go, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I can't do this because it says you have to be a year. She goes, well, let me check into that. I go, no. It's like I don't want to break the rules. I don't want to break the rules. And but she talked to WSO, and because I had over 6 months, and it's a half-hour talk, here I am. So I really tried. So that's all I got. I love you.